Hey everyone, as always Jarek here, and welcome to the black sheep of the Doom franchise. The game that arguably creates the most hot takes out of them all. Which is saying a lot, because Doom Eternal really makes a lot of hot takes. Look at this one. Mario meets Warframe. I'm not even mad, that's just funny. Anyway, I'm late to the party, but we're going to be talking about Doom 3's shotgun, because oh boy do people have opinions about this shotgun. Including me. In order to properly talk about it though, I need to talk about the entire game, so let's get to that. Well, actually first, let's get to our sponsor. Today's sponsor is one of my favorite sponsors on this channel because it's a product that I use. Opera GX. The first browser for gamers. It's a free browser, so check that link down below in the video information if you want to try it out. Clicking on the controller in the top left will bring you to the GX corner. This will give you alerts on upcoming games, free games, sales on any platform. PlayStation 4, Xbox One, PC, Switch, it has it. Also on the left is GX Control. This has features like Hot Tabs Killer, allowing you to get rid of the tab taking the most amount of your resources. It has a network limiter, a CPU limiter, and a memory limiter. This is especially useful if you're trying to game and you need your browser open on your second screen, like say if you're streaming. You will no longer have to worry about Google Chrome eating all of your RAM just because you want to see chat. A lot of people are sad when they miss my streams, but with Twitch integration, also on the left, you'll never have to worry about missing my streams ever again. There's also Discord integration, which I imagine would be really useful if you only have one screen. There's also a bunch of other integrations here, Facebook Messenger, WhatsApp, Twitter. If you use it, chances are there is an integration built in. You can also customize it to look any way you want. As I've been over before, black and red is the optimal color scheme. No bias. Here's a feature that I just personally like and want to talk about. There is a Force Dark Pages feature. I love this because if you're not using dark mode, you're using the internet wrong. I know there are extensions for other browsers that do this, but in my experience they never work exactly as they're supposed to, and the worst experience is going to a page with that extension turned on and being blinded. So hey, if you want to try it out, it is again free. Check that link down below in the video information and in the pinned comment. I can vouch for it, I use it on my own, and I really like it. Once again, huge shout out and thanks to Opera GX for sponsoring this video. Much like the Doom 3 shotgun, people have some strong opinions about Doom 3. Look, no matter how you feel about Doom 3, it is objectively a good game. You might be disappointed with it as a Doom game, that's fine I guess, but you can't say that it's a garbage game just because it's not what you wanted. Doom 3 sets out to do exactly what it did, and it's easier to be angry about it nowadays than when it came out in 2004. This is the direction that games were headed back at that time. Thanks to Half-Life's influence, games were going slower, more atmospheric, more immersive. They wanted to tell a story while still being video games. That eventually would go full-on spunk gargle wee wee, but we weren't there yet. Personally, this era is my favorite era in video games, what I refer to as the Half-Life era. Everyone wanted to be Half-Life, yet it started some innovative games, some games that weren't just Half-Life clones, but different and unique in their own way, like Doom 3. This was also at a time where tech was really being pushed forward, and that's kind of Doom 3's biggest downfall, because yes, it was impressive for 2004, but Half-Life 2 also came out 2 months later. Yeah, it's gonna be a reoccurring theme you'll hear in this video. Half-Life 2 just kind of overshadowed everything Doom 3 did. Still though, Doom 3 was an impressive game for 2004. Keep in mind, this was the PlayStation 2, GameCube, and Xbox generation. But we had games like Doom 3 and Half-Life 2 coming out that were clearly next-gen in quality. Somehow, they managed to squeeze Doom 3 into an original Xbox port that ran fairly well. Some of the levels were cut, but hey, you need to make sacrifices when you're doing something this ridiculous. I still remember all the upgrades people needed to do to be able to run Doom 3 properly back in 2004, and most of that can be traced back to its lighting, which was the standout thing in Doom 3. And honestly, it still looks good today. That's a good thing, because the lighting in Doom 3 is sort of its gimmick and really plays into its gameplay. If it didn't have good lighting, there'd be a problem. In fact, I think Doom 3 as a video game engine has kind of aged a little bit better than Half-Life 2's source engine, just because it's so moddable. And when I say moddable in this sense, I mean graphically. There are tons of graphic mods for Doom 3 that make the game look really good. The footage you're seeing now is from an old stream I did, so the bitrate's gonna be not that great, but you get the idea. And here is where I need to clarify that all the other footage you were seeing is vanilla Doom 3. This is the first time in a long time that I played Doom 3 without any mods installed. Typically when I play Doom 3, I install some graphics mods, I change the sound effects because the weapon sounds are really weak, I'll talk about that later. I install some variation of the duct tape mod, yes I'm a heretic, yes I do this, I'll explain this later, don't get mad at me. And I install mods to make the bodies not disappear so we get proper ragdoll. I'm probably forgetting some mods, I install a lot of mods is the point. I also need to clarify that I'm playing base Doom 3, not BFG Edition. BFG Edition changes a lot about Doom 3 and I don't really like it, but more importantly it's not compatible with most Doom 3 mods. Although you can play Doom 3 in VR via BFG Edition, which is really cool. I actually feel Doom 3 works perfectly in VR. But I don't think saying this explains how advanced the graphics were for 2004. So let's talk about some games that came out just 1 year before it, in 2003. Some first-person shooters that came out in 2003 are Postal 2, the original Call of Duty, Viet Cong, Black Hawk Down, Chase... No, not talking about that one. I think you get the point. We didn't have quote-unquote next-gen consoles in 2004, but we basically had moved on to being next-gen, with games like the original Far Cry, Doom 3, and Half-Life 2 leading the way forward. Doom 3 also put a lot of effort into its audio, which is something you don't see a lot of games focus in. Audio is extremely important, and I wish more games would focus on it, especially if they're trying to make a horror-style game. I mean, think about it, whenever a game does audio well, you remember it. I'm sure you remember the audio in Battlefield games. Audio will add a lot to your experience and immersion. So yeah, as far as tech is concerned, Doom 3 was a massive leap forward. And it's still really moddable and good to look at today. Next I want to briefly touch on the story, but I won't talk about this for too long. Doom 3 doesn't really tie into any of the other Doom games, at least not officially. You're not the badass Doom guy or Doom Slayer, you're just Doom Marine. He's pretty slow and he's pretty vulnerable, leading to a very different game. Anyway, you get sent to a UAC facility on Mars, UAC is doing things they're not supposed to, and they bring the demons to Mars. Yeah, I know, I wouldn't have seen that one coming either. At this point, the entire game is just escaping yourself and stopping the demon invasion from leaving Mars and getting to Earth. Like I said, I don't really want to talk about the story too much because I don't think it's that interesting compared to everything else around Doom 3. Let's just move on to the gameplay. I'm sure you're all aware of this, but Doom 3 is a very different game from that of the other Doom games, and it tried to focus more on horror, immersion, and atmosphere. It did 2 or 3 of these pretty well. I never thought it was scary though. Like, oh no, an imp popped out, whatever shall I do with this shotgun? Oh boy, this shotgun, I'll be getting to that, don't you worry. Another big problem with the horror is that just a few months later Half-Life 2 came out, and Ravenholm on its own is scarier than all of Doom 3. Again, even back in 2004, I just wasn't scared by Doom 3. It just didn't have that effect on me. Ravenholm did, for the first time I played it or so. What I will say is that Doom 3 nailed the atmosphere it was going for. It's dark and it's claustrophobic, exactly what it was intending to be. It's a game where anything could be out to kill you around every corner, and that's how it's supposed to be. Problem is, as I've said, I just don't really find this attempt at horror very scary. I have guns, it's a shooter, there are enemies. I'm just gonna shoot them. This is the equivalent of a slasher movie. I don't find it scary to have a movie of someone chasing after someone with a knife. For me personally, if we're getting into horror, it has to mess with my mind. So yeah, I don't play Doom 3 for the horror, I play it for, believe it or not, the pacing and the gameplay. As I said, I have a really big soft spot for the Half-Life era style of games, and this might be a hot take, but Doom 3 is my favorite game out of the Doom franchise. It's not the best game, that's for sure. I'd say the best game in the Doom franchise is probably Doom Eternal, in my opinion. I just like Doom 3 the most. Enemies do come back from other Doom games, but they're just not as threatening or as much of a problem. In fact, Doom 3 as a whole is pretty easy. All the footage you're seeing is on the hard difficulty. This is one of those games where the hard difficulty feels like normal, and that's still not very difficult. I'm not coming at this from the elitist standpoint where it needs to be as hard as possible or it's just not a good difficulty setting. Like, I mean, Doom 3 is really just easy. Let's take a few examples. The Revenant can be a problem in the older Doom games. Those homing missiles are kind of annoying to deal with. But in Doom 3, you can just shoot them down. And since the plasma gun has a huge hitbox around it, well, you can just shoot at the Revenant and it's just gonna die. This thing is a non-threat. The Cacodemon comes back. Their projectile is even easier to shoot down. So again, they're not really that much of a threat. You know, this might be why Doom 3 isn't really that scary. Nothing really poses a threat for you to be afraid of. And that's sort of a big deal, because yeah, it can trap you in a dark room with a bunch of zombies, but they're just zombies. They're not going to do that much damage to you. Who cares? And this is where I need to talk about the lighting, specifically the flashlight. A controversial opinion about Doom 3 is that I will almost always play with the Very Light mod, because I don't find Doom 3 to be a scary game. I don't find trapping myself in a dark room with a bunch of enemies scary. No, I'm just gonna shoot them anyway. I might as well just have a flashlight while I'm shooting them. I get the intention here. It's supposed to create tension by putting you in a dark place with enemies nearby, but it just doesn't do anything for me. And the main reason I play Doom 3 is because I find the gunplay to actually be somewhat satisfying. So that's what I want to do. I wouldn't recommend new players to do this. I would say if you haven't played Doom 3 ever, just play it vanilla with no mods, and then in following playthroughs install mods to make the game more fun for your playstyle. People usually make the argument of, oh, it destroys the atmosphere of Doom 3, but I already know what's coming. I played Doom 3 so many times, it's not really doing a whole lot for me. And really, there's only a few times where this actually matters. For example, there is one segment that's pretty neat, where you have to follow a scientist holding a lantern. Your power will intermittently go out, so you have to deal with fighting these monsters in the complete dark with a friendly NPC that you're trying to keep alive. This set piece is neat, I actually really like this, and the Very Light mod, or duct tape mod, does indeed ruin this part. But these parts are few and far between. Almost every other time they try to draw up tension by you holding a flashlight is they just lock you in a dark room where you can't see anything. That's not scary, it's just annoying. Speaking of annoying, let's talk about the guns. More specifically, the sound effects for them. They're terrible. Yeah, these things sound weak as hell. It's one of the first things I mod out when I decide to play Doom 3. I add in better sound effects for the guns. That said, the guns themselves are fine. The pistol isn't the most useful, but that's par for the course when it comes to Doom. For the most part, these guns are the same as any Doom game that came before it. You have the rocket launcher for crowd control and dealing with some of the heavier enemies. You have the chain gun for being the chain gun. You have the plasma gun for being the plasma gun. I mean, you've played Doom before, you know what these do, and they work basically the same in Doom 3. Except for the shotgun. Alright, it's time. We gotta talk about this thing. I distinctly remember the first time somebody told me that the Doom 3 shotgun was bad. I just thought they were stupid and bad at Doom 3. Then a lot more people told me the Doom 3 shotgun was bad. Now I just think there's a lot of stupid people that are bad at Doom 3. The complaint I hear the most when people talk about Doom 3's shotgun is that it has little range. A shotgun. Having little range. Needing to get up close to people with a shotgun. In a game where most combat encounters happen between 5 to 15 feet away. Why is this a problem? I hear people complaining that most of the time you have to dodge Im's fireball so you can shove your shotgun in their face and kill them. Congratulations, that's how you play Doom 3. You have near infinite sprint, and if you shove your shotgun in their face, it kills instantly and consistently. Yes, it has a wide pellet spread, but where are those pellets going to go if the barrel is touching them? They're gonna die, and it's pretty strong. This is one of your utility weapons, you need to get good with it. Wow, this shotgun sucks! How fucking terrible. How terrible! Awful shotgun. Look at that, so terrible, bad. This is hard difficulty, by the way. Also, the Doom 3 shotgun is not bad. I will fight anyone. I will shove a salami up your shithole if you say the Doom 3 shotgun is bad. I'm a man of my word and I stand by my statement. Another complaint people typically have about the Doom 3 shotgun is that it's pretty ugly, which is, you know, more of a personal opinion type thing, and yeah, it's kind of an ugly shotgun, but this is ugly in the most beautiful way to me. I don't know why, I've always loved the look of this thing. Say what you want about it, but you still remember what it looks like 16 years later. I have a few final rapid fire things to say about Doom 3. Fall damage sucks. You fall 10 feet and you lose 20 health. Could be worse though, it could be Rainbow Six Vegas. Alright, I know what's gonna happen now. Poppy tries to follow me.
Oh, called it!
The game relies on spawning enemies behind you or trapping you into small rooms to try to get the jump on you to scare you, which again doesn't really scare me. I don't mind this because I do find these situations to be kind of fun. By the way, shotgun's bad. The boss fights were okay. Typically involved just shooting them until they were dead, so I don't really have a whole lot to say about them. The expansion Resurrection of Evil was alright. I don't feel like giving it its own video or a whole part of this video. The only things that really matter to me when it comes to this expansion is that they added some new enemies, they brought the double barrel shotgun back, which should have been in base Doom 3 to begin with, And there's square boobs. Yeah, I don't really have a whole lot more to say about Doom 3. Doom 3 is its own beast that tried to do an entirely different thing from the other Doom games, and for some reason it clicked with me really well. I find it very fun, and really do enjoy it. As I said, it is objectively a good game. It may not be the best Doom game, but you can't say it's trash just because that's not what you wanted. And as for the title of this video, how bad is the Doom 3 shotgun really? Yeah, it's not. It's a good shotgun, and I will stand by my word. I would much rather use the shotgun as the game intended instead of trying to use it as it wasn't intended than complaining about it saying it's bad. So that about should sum up all my thoughts on Doom 3. It's an enjoyable game, and if you're still here, you probably also like Doom 3, so go check out the Doom 3 mod Phobos. It's an incredibly good mod. Episode 1 and 2 are already out, and no one knows about it. I don't know how, but it really deserves more attention. And if you still think the Doom 3 shotgun sucks, well then they made the shotgun better in Doom 3 Phobos and changed the game around it. Like, seriously, this mod is really good. As always, a big shout out and thanks goes to my sponsor, Opera GX. Check that link down below in the video information. The browser is free. And another thanks goes to people that joined me over on Twitch when I was streaming Doom 3. My Twitch is twitch.tv/JarekTheGamingDragon. If you subscribe, you get to see my videos ahead of time. Thank all of you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.